Sup, you beautiful bastards! Welcome back to another electric skateboard review. My name is Daniel Kwan. Let's just jump into it. Today's weather is 28 degrees Celsius. By the time I finish, it should drop down to about 26 degrees. I'm doing a range test right now. I'm measuring with using the odometer on the remote and also using the Ride app. I'll include a link to the Ride app in the description. My weight today should be about 72 kilograms, maybe 71. I'll check later and I'll put the number on the screen. Let's first talk about the deck. So the deck on this board is kind of flexy. I mean, it feels like it's flexy for sure, but part of the flex is actually from using double kingpin trucks and large bushings, I think. I have the same deck on another board. It's actually not that flexy. It's actually about the same amount of flex as the Backfire G2T. But anyway, when you're on this board, it feels like a flexy deck, which is nice because when you're going off-roading and you're going over a bumpy surface, having a flexi deck really helps. Oh yeah, in my last video about the Backfire Ranger X2, did I mention what board we're covering? This is the Backfire Ranger X2, by the way. So in my last video about it, I think I said that the deck is exactly the same as the deck on the X1, but that's actually not correct. They've supposedly updated the material, so it's less likely to break. Okay, This board can go over a lot of stuff, but I still get worried about some cracks that are too large. Oh yeah, I was saying that they improved the material a bit so that it's less likely to crack. I guess some people had that issue on the Ranger X1. But anyway, it looks exactly the same. It's pretty nice, I like it. I'm using the Ranger X1 deck on my regular longboard just for like manual pushing, riding around like a peasant. These wheels are different from the wheels on the Ranger X1. They're actually a little, like diameter-wise, they're a little bit smaller, but they are thicker. Like the tires are thicker. They absorb bumps a little bit better than the X1, like noticeably better. On the Ranger X1, I didn't really like the wheels, but on the X2, I'm actually pretty happy with them. Now, compared to pneumatics, I don't know. I've never used pneumatic wheels to be. No, I have. On my friend's DIY, I've used pneumatic wheels before. Pneumatic tires. I guess it kind of depends on what surface you're riding on. Like on a road like this, you probably would not feel much difference, but if you're going off-roading, I guess pneumatics would be better. The Backfire Ranger, I think it's not a true off-roading board. You know, like they call it all-terrain, but it's really more of a like a city board, like an SUV. You know how an SUV is really more for the city? It's not really for off-roading. I mean, you can go off-roading with an SUV, but it's really more for city use. Well, this is kind of the same. Okay, let's talk about the trucks now. This board uses double kingpin trucks. I'm not a huge fan of double kingpin trucks. Actually, I'm not a fan at all of double kingpin trucks. But compared to other boards I've used that use double kingpin, this is one of the better ones. But I think it really has more to do with how the bushings are configured. Oh, actually, I should mention this. I recently tried a Evolve GT, not the GTR, but the older one, the GT. I didn't try going full speed on it, but at like low and medium speeds, I like the way it carves. It felt nice. But again, I didn't try going very fast on it because, you know, I don't want to die on an Evolve. But anyway, I've tried other boards that use the same exact trucks as Evolve, and for some reason, the way they carve is just not good. I don't know why. But on the Backfire Ranger, it's actually all right. Backfire, they actually recommend that you don't adjust your trucks because they've set it to the way that they want, I guess. Like if you go on forums and you ask people, okay, like what kind of bushing should you use and stuff, Backfire might be like, don't adjust the trucks, you'll mess things up, you know? So the way that, oh, hey, check out this turn radius. So double kingpin is really nice for those kinds of very sharp turns. But at the same time, if you're going fast, it can get wobbly kind of easily. I don't like double kingpin that much because it feels different from reverse kingpin. I mean, you can turn sharp on reverse kingpin also. Like, people make it seem like you can only turn really sharp on double kingpin. Well, I guess you can turn sharper on double kingpin, but I find that I can actually turn adequately on just like regular reverse kingpin trucks. The thing with double kingpin is that it feels a little bit too sensitive to me, or maybe I'm just not configuring it correctly. It's like it suddenly turns too much. You know, I don't know, it's hard for me to describe, but I need to mention that a lot of people like double kingpin trucks. I'm not one of them, but a lot of people like it. I looked at the way that Backfire has set up their bushings. So with double kingpin trucks, there's like, each truck has two sections, right? There's the board side section and then there's the roadside section. Each section has two bushings. On the board side section, they've made the bushing super, super, super tight, like ridiculously tight. And I think that's partly how they keep this board more stable than some of the competitors. But that makes me wonder though, because wouldn't that make the bushings wear out more quickly? Because bushings, like, you're not supposed to make them so tight. Anyway, that's my opinion about double kingpin trucks. You might like them, you might not. I mean, I don't hate them either. Like, for low speeds, like right now, it's all right. This board uses a Hobby Wing ESC. It's a little bit different. So this ESC allows the board to use a 12S battery. Like all Hobby Wing ESCs, the controls are really smooth and also really accurate. Like, I have to emphasize this. Smooth is one thing. Accurate is something else. What I mean by accurate is, like, if you throttle up a little bit, then you accelerate a little bit. If you throttle up a lot, then you accelerate more quickly. Like, same thing with braking. You can brake very gently or you can brake very hard. Not every ESC can do that, but Hobby Wing ESCs are known for, you know, that kind of very, very precise, very intuitive control. So Backfire's remote has this turbo button. When you press turbo, it gives you an extra boost for like 30 seconds. During those 30 seconds, you get stronger acceleration. And then once the 30 seconds is over, the turbo turns off by itself. And then you gotta wait 30 seconds before you can use it again. I'm not really a fan of this implementation. The one time that I really wanted to use turbo was when going up a hill. But here's the thing, you can't be on the throttle and press the turbo button at the same time. Like, I wanna use my right hand to stay on the throttle and then use my left hand to push the turbo button. But you can't do that. It doesn't let you. You have to let go of the throttle and then you can push the turbo button. Now, if you're going up a hill, what happens when you let go of the throttle? You slow down a lot, right? Because you're going up a hill, it's like, yeah, you just suddenly slow down a lot. For me, going up a hill and using turbo, that's like the main use case. That's like the most useful use case for having turbo, but you can't use it like that. You have to let go of the throttle. And then that 30-second limit, I don't know, it's just like, they've made it better. Now it shows you when turbo is available, and then when you press turbo, the button flashes. However, once turbo turns off, it doesn't tell you how many seconds remain until turbo can become available again. This button will this icon, this T icon that's flashing right now, when turbo disables, it'll disappear. How do I know when turbo is going to be available again? I basically just have to wait for it. I have to wait for the turbo icon to show up again. But turbo does work though. It does give you extra acceleration, extra torque, sorry. I think the remote is pretty nice. I like that it has a display that tells you how fast you're going, how far you've gone on this trip, and then how far you've gone ever since you got this board. It tells you what mode you're in, tells you the remaining battery on the board, and also the remaining battery on the remote. And I like that there's only two speed modes: economy mode, which is the slow mode, and the sport mode, which is the fast mode. And then there's turbo, which I talked about earlier. As you can see, this board uses hub motors, which is why it's so quiet. Another nice thing about hub motors is that you don't have to worry about sand and little rocks and stuff getting into the belts, into the gear system. The thing I normally dislike about hub motors is that there's very little urethane, so the ride is like really uncomfortable. But it's different on this board because there's a thick layer of rubber, like it actually has tires. So the stuff that I dislike about hub motors doesn't really apply here. Kind of strange, but an all-terrain board I feel is probably the best use for hub motors. I've been on this path many times, so I'm riding on tiles right now, and with normal hub motor boards, it usually doesn't feel very good over here at all. Even though these tiles are pretty smooth, you can still feel the cracks and stuff with normal hub motor boards. But on this board, it's different because of the tires. Dead end. So the battery is using a 12S 2P. 12S something. I'll put the info on the screen. I don't remember the cell. I don't remember. Yeah, sorry, that's all I remember. I should write these things down, but I didn't. Let's try out turbo mode. Turbo mode is on. Whoa, it's in reverse. Holy shit. Yeah, I guess you can kind of feel a difference with turbo. Okay, so it just turned off just now. Like when turbo shuts off, you can kind of feel, you can feel it. Like you're thrown forward a little bit. As long as you're expecting it, it's not too bad. If you're not expecting it, then you know, just be aware that when turbo shuts off, it's gonna toss you forward a little bit. So the torque, I think the torque is adequate. I mean, okay, so turbo is off right now, and honestly, I don't feel a huge amount of difference. I mean, I guess there's a difference, but the amount is, like, to me, it's not huge. Oh, there's a slight incline over there. Let's check it out. Okay, I'm gonna go up this incline from a standstill. And it goes up just fine. Actually, I have footage from Thailand where I'm going up a hill. So for me, at about 70 kilograms, in my opinion, it performs pretty well going uphill. If you're heavier, it's not going to be as good. That's true of like every single board. The heavier you are, the worse it performs. That's just how it is. So if you want extra torque, lose some weight. Anyway, to summarize torque, I think it's fine. I like it. I like the amount of torque on this board. The top speed on this board is 35 kilometers per hour. This is an arbitrary number that Backfire has programmed into the ESC. They could have made it faster, but they chose 35 kilometers per hour for safety reasons. At least that's what they told me. And I'm okay with it. Depending on the kind of road you're on, like if you're on a very smooth road, 35 is totally fine. I think I would be comfortable going 40. If the road is a little bit bumpy and stuff, then because of the double kingpin trucks, it could get a little bit, what's the word? A little bit concerning or something. God, my English is getting really bad. So if you're a speed demon and you like going really fast, well, just be aware that this board can only take you up to 35 kilometers per hour. I think I'm normally between like 25 and 35 anyway. So 35 for me is totally fine. Like, let's see, right now, okay, this area has a lot of turns, so I'm only at about 25 right now. If you're riding in a place that has a lot of long straightaways with like no traffic and stuff, maybe you'll feel it's a little bit slow, I don't know. But if you're on a road like this where there's a lot of curves, yeah, 35 is more than enough. The brakes on this board are really good. Just for comparison, definitely better than the brakes on the onboard Carbon AT, and also better than the Rowdy Carbon AT, and so much better than the brakes on the Ranger X1. So the thing with the brakes on the onboard Carbon AT is they just feel really soft. I don't know why they didn't make it harder, but it just felt soft. And on the Rowdy, I feel like braking at a medium strength and braking all the way, like they feel the same. But it's been a while since I used a Rowdy though. I don't know if they've changed that. If you have a Rowdy, give me your opinion on it. On the Backfire Ranger X2, the brakes are good. The brakes are strong. I like strong brakes. I mean, if you want to brake gently, you can still brake gently. I have to emphasize this because otherwise some people are going to be like, oh, I'm afraid that I'll brake too hard and I'll fly off. You don't have to brake hard. You know, you want to brake gently, okay, pull back a little bit. You know, brake hard, okay, pull back hard. If you want to brake hard, okay, just get down low, you know, put your weight back a little bit and then brake hard. It's totally fine. Okay, portability. This board I think is 10.8 kilograms, so it's about 4 kilograms lighter than the Ranger X1. Compared to other all-terrain boards, 10 kilograms or 10.8 or like around there, that's about right. I think most all-terrain boards are around that weight or heavier. If you live in a place or you work at a place where you have to constantly carry the board up the stairs, that's something that you might need to take into consideration, because 10 kilograms or 10.8, you have to lift it all the time. It could get a little bit annoying. Sorry, I'm on tiles right now, so my voice is like, But yeah, I mean, it's an all-terrain board. You don't get an all-terrain board for the portability. You get it for riding on roads like this, for riding on tiles, for riding on maybe grass. Like I want to say grass, but honestly, riding on grass is not that fun with this board, with any board, in my opinion, because it's just, I don't know, I don't like it. I don't like riding on grass. Water resistance on this board is not very good in my opinion, or it's subpar. If you're not standing on the board, it keeps out water pretty good, I guess. But if you're standing on the board, because the deck, I hope you can hear me. There's a lot of wind right now. I can barely hear myself. Basically, when you're standing on the board, the deck bends, right? The deck bends, and then there's a gap between the enclosures and the deck. So if you're riding through a big puddle, or if you're riding through a lot of rain and there's like water all over the ground, water is gonna get inside the enclosures. So I rode this board through, not this board, but another Ranger X2 through the rain in Thailand. Yeah, we got water inside the enclosures. Fortunately, the batteries didn't die, so there's that. I mean, the battery is protected. The battery and ESC are protected by like glue. I feel like the cables are not adequately protected. Like Max told me that the cables should be fine for the most part. I don't like the idea that water is gonna get inside. What the hell? What is going on? Crime scene or something? There's like a dead body. Anyway, let's get up this thing. See, I was down there and now I'm up here. All right, anyway, yeah, so waterproofness, not so great. The remote also, the remote is not very water resistant. Like if you're riding in rain, water could get into the remote and mess things up. Okay, so I want to talk about the aesthetics of this board. I think this board looks really nice. It's like one of the coolest looking boards I've seen. I mean, your opinion might be different, but I like the way it looks. I think the like it's all black, which is nice. It's like black on black. The logo is black. The grip tape is black. I think that looks super cool. That little T thing in front for I guess, I don't know if it's T for turbo or maybe it's just an arrow, but that's supposed to represent their premium offerings. Backfires and closures, they've always kind of looked like this. It's pretty cool. I mean, they haven't changed it in a while, but that's fine. It still looks nice. The deck is very Backfire. I don't know, the whole thing looks nice. The hubs on the hub motors look pretty cool. The front wheels, okay. I mean, I don't love the design, but it's not terrible either. Overall, yeah, pretty good looking board in my opinion. So the only thing I have left to talk about is the range, but I still have 2 bars out of 5. I've ridden this board, not this one, but in Thailand I've ridden the Ranger X2 quite a few times, but we didn't actually measure the range while we were there, because you know when you do a range test you have to start with a full battery and then ride until it's all the way empty, and then once it's empty you gotta like call a cab and stuff. So like in Thailand it wasn't really a convenient place to be doing a range test, so I don't actually know what the range is supposed to be. According to Backfire, it's supposed to be about 30 kilometers or 35, but I don't know, we'll see. So I got 2 bars out of 5. I've gone 13.5 so far, so shit, I'm only halfway. You guys, if you have the Ranger, watch out for these nuts, because this is the second Ranger X2 I've ridden where this bolt has come loose. Like it's not super loose, but it's a little bit loose. Like I could hear some rattling, and I think the rattling sound is from the washer. The remote just vibrated and told me I'm at 25%, and it said like low voltage, but it's still showing me 2 out of 5 bars. I've only gone 17 kilometers. Oh, it's vibrating again. If this is like the G2T, it probably means I still have a long ways to go. I think 25% doesn't really mean 25%. I don't know. 点呢？
慢点不是，因为这比较危险。
怎么出去？ Oh, this nice security guard told me that I can't ride here. Fuck. It's rush hour. I'm gonna try to get back to the riverside. I'm not sure if I'll get kicked out again by a different security guy, but we'll see. So I'm at 1 bar out of 5 for the battery, and the torque is definitely reduced, like less than before, but it's still very usable. Oh, it just vibrated again. Okay, it's telling me 10%. So I'm at 25.2 kilometers so far, according to this. So that was kind of interesting. At 25%, I was at what, 13 kilometers? I'm getting pretty close to the next metro station. Why haven't I run out of power yet? Alright, my speed has dropped down to 16 kilometers per hour, like maximum. I know they're gonna kick me out around here, so let's just get kicked out. they weren't looking this way. Bye bye! Alright. I know. they weren't paying attention. The range test is over anyway. So according to the remote, I got 27.6 kilometers. And according to the ride app, I got 27.2. So pretty close, pretty close. The two numbers are pretty close. On the Ranger X1, it didn't really matter too much if you're going fast or slow. The range was about the same. Like if you go slow and if you go fast, the range is like very, very similar on the Ranger X1. On the Ranger X2, I don't know, but I have a feeling it's gonna be about the same. If you have the Ranger X2 and you've done range tests on it, go ahead, leave a comment, leave a link to your video if you want. If you leave a link to your video and you don't see your link, it might be because YouTube automatically marked it as spam. So I guess the big question is, how does this board compare to other boards around the same price? Like other all-terrain boards around the same price? I prefer this one for 3 main reasons. One, the brakes. Like number 1 reason is the brakes. The brakes on this board is like, it's just stronger, and it feels better. Number 2, the remote. This remote is, it's pretty cool. I'm not a fan of turbo. I don't care about turbo at all, but it does have a display. I think the display is pretty useful. For the main competitors, they either have the generic Hobbywing remote, or they have a remote that just really sucks. So that's the second reason. I had one more reason. On one of the other boards, it's all-terrain, and it uses belt drive, and it's around the same price. Or actually, it's a little bit cheaper. And the belt broke, so that's just one of those things you have to deal with. Little rocks and stuff can get into the belt and either mess up the pulley or mess up the belt, or both. So that's just one of those things you have to deal with belt drive. A lot of people claim that belt drive gives you more torque, but not really. I mean, overall, I think it's I think this is a pretty good product. In my opinion, the water resistance is subpar, but I personally don't ride in the rain anyway, so it doesn't really affect me. But for some of you who plan on riding in the rain, that might be something that you need to consider. But yeah, overall, I like it. I mean, again, I would choose this over the nearest competitors. This is pretty good.